Welcome back everyone, and I hope you enjoyed your lunch. I am Isha Saini and I work as the Assistant Manager for Partnerships here at IIC. As a reminder, while this room focuses on niche areas, there are parallel sessions on climate investing and debt impact investing happening in the boardroom and Jade respectively. Please refer to the conference application umbrella or you can contact any IIC employee for any further information or assistance. We will now begin with a significant highlight of the afternoon, a special report launched by the Canopy Foundation. The report explores groundbreaking efforts in sustainable development, emphasizing the crucial intersections of decarbonization, material innovation, and the evolution of a next-gen economy. It is more than just a report, it is a strategic roadmap for future progress, providing a blueprint for how industries and economies can drive impactful, sustainable change. And to unveil the said report, may I please request Ms. Nicole Rycroft, the founder and executive director at the Canopy Foundation, and Mr. Girish Aivalli, the CEO at Impact Investors Council, to take the stage.
One more photo. One more. Thank you. All the best. Thanks. All the best.
And surely that was an exciting start to the particular track on niche areas. Further shedding light on the report's findings and what the future of material substitution in India looks like, we have with us Ms. Valerie Langer. Valerie Langer has been engaged in forest conservation initiatives for over 30 years. She has worked with non-profit Canopy to accelerate global availability of next-generation alternatives to tree fiber pulp for manufacturing paper, packaging, and man-made cellulosic fibers, and with Canopy Planet Solutions to mobilize investments for next-gen pulp production. Valerie's focus is on large-scale forest conservation by leveraging markets, investments, and innovation. She was on Canopy's founding steering committee, is a Donella Meadows Fellow, and along with colleagues who helped craft the Great Bear Rainforest Agreements, was a recipient of the Buckminster Fuller Challenge Award. With a stellar record as hers, it gives me great pleasure to now call upon Ms. Valerie to take the stage.
Thanks very much, and I'm going to try and do this a little bit faster because I know everything's running late, but give you a deeper dive into the opportunity to decarbonize the world's 7th largest emitting sector, the pulp, paper, and viscose sector. So these are wood that goes into a commodity product that can be decarbonized with alternate materials. How do I? We see India as having an absolutely prime position to be able to scale up an industrial sector that needs to be decarbonized. I won't go too much into Canopy, but we are a solutions-driven, not-for-profit organization that works with 900 plus companies such as H&M, Ben & Jerry's, Walmart, Target, etc., that have over $1 trillion in revenues. We help those companies to figure out how they are going to avoid high carbon, high biodiversity value forest sources in their supply chain and move away from the bad and towards the good. So we are working with these brands on how they can transform their supply chains to be able to not just shift away from a forest in one area and into a forest in another, but rather to take a look at alternative sources of cellulose altogether. So this is an area that globally we feel is one of the most untapped, highest potential areas for the investment sector and as an economic opportunity, because material decarbonization is at this point only about 3% of the total investment in climate finance, but it is 33% of the estimated solution towards climate. So we have this sector of material substitution that is completely underfinanced, and so whoever steps into this market in a big way is really going to benefit, and this is where we feel India can really shine. In India, there's at this point about 7.8 million tons of textiles that are discarded or waste. About half of those go into a recycling system, but mainly into a downcycling system rather than upcycling. So there's a valorization potential, particularly for textiles that are blended polyester cotton, which is a lot of the textiles in this world, which is basically plastic blended with a natural cellulose fiber. And so if there are technologies that are brought in to separate the polyester from the cotton, you can valorize both materials, the polyester monomer back into the polyester supply chain and the cotton into the viscose supply chain. Right? And so that's valorizing what is currently a huge waste area. Currently, those downcycled or discarded, there's a lot of burning of the poly cotton textile waste, which is causing air pollution. This is a health issue that has to be addressed in India as well. So valorizing the poly cotton textile waste would be have multiple benefits. There's about 100 million tons of crop residues that are burned every year. Everybody here who lives in India knows about this. Basically, crop residue is another way of saying for 100 million tons of crop residues, you can also say that as 60 million tons of cellulose. So because pulp and paper and viscose are made of cellulose, we should stop thinking about the paper industry as a forest product sector and the viscose sector as a forest product sector, and start considering, it's a mind shift, and to thinking about it as a cellulose sector. And when you think about a cellulose sector, then all plant matter on the planet, whether that's rice straw or wheat straw or seaweed or grass or bamboo, all of it becomes a potential for the conversion into a commodity product that has that is it's a $351 billion global market, right? So this is where we have to start thinking of cellulose as part of the next generation solution and the market that's available. So next generation solutions are both conceptually both alternative materials like agri-fibers and residues, like waste cotton textiles. It's also the processes, the technologies, and systems of logistics for getting those cellulose materials into the manufacturing system. So next gen broadly refers to both materials and processes. The impact benefit of investing in this kind of a new commodity sector, 88 to 100 times less impact on land use, 4 times less tons less carbon per ton of product manufactured compared to conventional wood fiber into this supply chain, and 5 times less impact on biodiversity, because there are areas that are caribou habitat, Sumatran tiger habitat, orangutan habitat that are currently in the supply chain for pulp, paper, and viscose that needn't be. So this is a habitat and endangered species issue globally that can be resolved by India scaling up manufacture of a low carbon alternative cellulose production system. The reason why we feel that India, and we outline in our report that India is in a premier position, is because there is already an industry here that has never stopped pulping agri-fiber. When agricultural fibers that used to be part of the paper supply chain went out of fashion in Europe and North America, and then as Brazil and Latin America started to build a pulp supply chain, they were focused entirely on wood. And India and China, on the other hand, never stopped utilizing crop residue, but it became a minor part of the pulp and paper industry. It's only 11 million tons of the 420 million tons of paper that is produced globally. India is the second largest producer of non-wood pulp and paper in the world. And so there's deep technical engineering expertise that can be called upon as the industry modernizes and scales up. You also have Birla Cellulose, which is the world's second largest industrial viscose and lyocell producer of viscose and lyocell fiber. And that gives an opportunity for a progressive industrial player to actually take the textile waste, and when there is a technology that can make the pulp from cotton textile, utilize it and bring that to market. So the global leadership opportunity in India to scale is really quite big, and there is no world in which 10 million tons does not sound like a big number. We understand that scaling 10 million tons of production of anything is a lot. For example, Birla Cellulose, second biggest manufacturer of viscose fiber in the world, with about 1.1 million tons of production. So when we say 10 million tons, it's a lot. We know that it is. However, take a moment to think that in the 5 years between 2018 and 2023, India added 10 million tons of recycled paper capacity. So this is not out of the question in any way, shape, or form for India to consider a really accelerated scale-up of pulp production for this kind of an industrial sector. It's been done before. It's been done many times before. The threat to India's ability to take this pole position is the import of very cheap pulp that's coming in from some of the, I would say, worst producers in the world of pulp. So there's really cheap Indonesian and Chinese pulp that's coming in, and that's threatening India's domestic production. So this is a place where we can have the government policy step in to actually give the domestic production a chance to both take an approach that helps the health benefit, avoids the landfilling and municipal pressures to landfill these textiles that are currently going into either burning or the dump sites, and allows a valorization. This is a policy piece that we feel has to be part of a cohesive industrial strategy for a scale-up. There are a number of reasons why India should take this role. So think about the market that is out there in the EU, where in the last year, the EU deforestation regulation has now prevented the import into the EU of products from deforestation and degradation. There are whole countries that now are not really in a very good position to supply a massive market in the EU. And if you just avoid the forest part of this completely by not having to be traced by every brand that imports paper and textiles, if you avoid that completely by being an agricultural fiber or a recycled textile to textile supplier, you become a preferred supplier for a huge sector of the market. And this is an opportunity that somebody is going to take. And I can tell you, our team was in China just 2 weeks ago, and the Chinese producers are looking very seriously at next-gen production. So this is a competitive space where with the right investment, with the right enabling conditions, and because India is in a preferred position because they have, I would say, a different way of being viewed by the brands in terms as a regional supplier. If there is a choice between some countries and other countries, I think India, as I'm not going to mention the controversy here, but there is some human rights issues that will take some brands would prefer to be purchasing from India rather than some other parts of the world. And actually in the United States, another huge market, this has become a huge issue where imports from certain parts of Asia because of human rights issues have actually closed the market to certain Chinese suppliers. So again, being able to be a preferred supplier is an opportunity that shouldn't be missed. So the current capital flows here, very low capital flows into material substitution. And if we were to take a look at the capital stack that went into the climate space in India recently, our friends at the IIC here did a report that showed that of the $2.6 billion in impact investment that went into deals in India in 2023, only 3% of it went into waste management and circularity. So there's a gap. There's a very obvious gap in where the impact investment can flow and the scale at which it can flow. A lot of impact investment has been tailored to very individual companies, like this technology here, or this opportunity there, this farm community here. And instead, this is about changing an entire sector in India and scaling it up by having the entire value chain move together in lockstep, in phase. So this is where the capital needs comes in. The capital needs are at the infrastructure level. So mills need to be either retrofitted or built that can use the new technologies, the new clean tech, to take agricultural fiber or textile fiber through to the pulp phase. And this is the infra part. It is the growth equity and debt finance element. Because these are new technologies that are up and coming, there's room for venture capital to come in, both at the technology innovation stage, but also venture level scale up and equity and debt capital for the value chain. So the recyclers, the aggregators that are going to bring the straw from the farms to the mill. That kind of business that happens at farm level or at urban recycler level. There's space for many types of industries to come in. And then catalytic capital, either from the philanthropic sector or from government itself. There's room for capital grants because this is a commodity. Pulp is a commodity. It operates on quite low margins and makes money on volume. So in order to get that kind of volume with low margins, at this point the cost of money is very high. And some of the mills that we have spoken to who said we're interested in the space, but currently interest rates are too high. If we're looking at India 10 years out and you want to get a foot in the door, you have to provide some low-cost capital now so that that market gets established. And when the interest rates come down, you haven't lost out to another part of the world who's moved forward. Because governments can actually move in and create cohesive strategies that enable an entire sector to move forward and capture a market space. And this is where we think that India is really going to shine because there is an appetite within the Indian government. We've had conversations. It feels like it's the right time. This is a cusp of a moment to capture an industrial commodity sector that has a gap between the demand of the market and the actual supply that's available. So with that, I'm going to leave you and allow this fabulous panel that's going to take us to a much more granular look. We've taken you at the 100-foot level. Now let's get down to the ground about what is it going to take for the textile sector to incorporate circular manufacturing.